Peace, peace. Happy Monday, family. And we are heading off our Mindful Monday, starting off our Mindful Mondays. So, this experience is designed to create a predictable, safe, and grounding weekly space that supports nervous system regulation, intentional reflection, and personal empowerment. Through simple, repeatable practices, you're invited to just pause, breathe, and reflect. Mindful Mondays allow you to interrupt autopilot and just reconnect with yourself, all while being introduced to the Mindful Moments lifestyle, a framework that makes mindfulness practical, accessible, and sustainable for real life. Tonight's theme for Mindful Mondays is breathe before you burn out. Breathe before you burn out. Always going to start with our intentions, right? So, peace, family. I'm so glad y'all are here for another edition of Mindful Mondays. Whether you're joining live or catching a replay, peace in, peace in. And just take a moment, get yourself, maybe get a journal, maybe get something to drink if you can, and then just ground your body as much as you can. All right, so we always gonna start with our pause where we really ground ourselves in some shared language. And for today, we just gonna get right into it, to the breath. It's literally our life source. It gives us so much information, and oftentimes we take it for granted. We don't pay attention to it that much. We don't give it its credit, okay? Because it's automatic, right? Generally, we don't even have to think about breathing. We inhale and exhale. Oxygen goes into our lungs, and our body does what it needs to do. Without breath, there is no life. And before I go any further, I'm just going to take a moment and I also invite you to repeat after me. I'm abundantly grateful for breath in my body. I'm abundantly grateful for breath in my body. As a yogli, let's quickly define yoga, right? Because yoga just simply means union, and it's referred to, right, the union of mind, body, and soul or spirit. And it teaches 8 limbs. There are actually 8 limbs of yoga. The most popular one are the asanas or the postures, but that's just one aspect of it. Another one of the limbs of yoga is pranayama, which is the practice of breath work. So in the yoga world, prana is the vital life source, right? That's our breath, and it connects the mind, body, and spirit. It's what connects those things together, right? That's union. True yoga is union of those things, and the breath is what connects that with prana. And when it's controlled consciously, it really allows us to deepen into those asanas or those postures, those physical movements, but it also calms the nervous system down. And it also helps channel that energy for deepening your balance and physical movement, but also your focus when it comes to your mind and your soul, right? And so just take a moment right now and drop the air emoji if you're just ready to just breathe. Okay, just breathe. And today's Mindful Monday theme is breathe before burnout. Breathe before burnout. Now, there are several breathwork practices, okay? And a few I am going to share in this video. But why is this important? Why does this matter? 3 words: focus, energy, and depth. Breathing brings awareness to the present moment. Often that brings clarity to the mind. One of the 4 ways to practice mindfulness is the breath. Okay, there are 4 ways you can practice mindfulness: body, breath, thought, and emotion. And remember, today we're talking about breath, right? Because breathe before you can what? But breathe before you burn out. I'm telling you, it's power there. Okay. Energy. First of all, breathing allows you to channel your energy. All right. It allows you to balance your mental and your physical states. Now we think about depth. It allows for more in-depth introspection. And then if you're into movement and doing asanas, right, it also allows for more stable postures doing those movements. And then it can also, with a consistent practice, prevent some fatigue. All right. So even more so, neuroscience supports a deep connection between the breath and the brain. All right. We know our brain is our powerhouse, is our control center. The rhythmic breathing, right, that's involuntarily and it's controlled by the brainstem. Remember, that's in that survival brain state. And that directly influences the prefrontal cortex, which is in the front of the brain, or the executive brain state. And that's what's really involved in our emotion, our memory, and our attention, right? So conscious control of the breath Okay, engaging, right? So engaging in those practices of breath work consistently, it can support the whole nervous system and shifting from that survival mode to relaxation. Okay, and it just overall enhances the overall brain function, right? Because it's allowing the brain functions to really be in synchrony, right? And really working together optimally the way they're supposed to. And we know, right, this improves the neuroplasticity in our brain, meaning, right, our brain can grow and get bigger, not in the sense of size, but just in the parts that it's used. Because when we take those calculated risks and try new things, we're creating those new pathways, right? And that's what breathing helps, right? It helps improve that neuroplasticity. The breath also gives us a lot of information. Okay, slow, deep breaths usually will activate that prefrontal cortex, which promotes that, helps us with self-regulation, helps calm the amygdala. You know, the amygdala, that's that guard dog, that's the alarm system in the brain, right? And it helps with emotional regulation. Notice like rapid and shallow breathing. That's usually a sign of a trigger sympathetic system. That's your survival mode or fight and flight mode, right? That's how anxiety and stress shows up. And guess what? Yep, intentional breathing practices activates that parasympathetic system, which reduces stress. Boom, regulated nervous system. Now we're gonna dive just a little bit deeper, really into the breath and body, and what it really means when we say having a regulated nervous system. I've heard very many different variations of this quote, so I'm just kind of paraphrasing a combination of them. But basically, whether you think you can or you think you can't, which you think is true. And that's how fear really lives in the brain, right? It doesn't really know if it's real or not. And innately, it looks for it because our brain wants to protect us, wants us to be safe. That's how we're wired. But what does a regulated nervous system even mean? So, first, let's discuss the nervous system, right? There are two main parts. We have our central nervous system, that's the brain, along with the spinal cord. And then we have the peripheral nervous system, and that's all the nerves that branch out from that central nervous system, right? So you got your brain, spinal cord, and then everything else that branches off from that. Those are the two systems. So when we think about just how that works, both of those systems communicate, and relays messages to the rest of the body from the brain. Okay, so it's working in tandem. And now the peripheral nervous system that branches into two other branches, which is the somatic and autonomic nervous system, and that controls the voluntary and the involuntary movements, respectively, right? So think about the things that we do automatically, right? That's where those three branches are into our parasympathetic nervous system, okay? So we have our automatic, basically, nervous system, and it has three main branches. So you have your parasympathetic system that manages like rest and digestion, okay, when the body is calm. Then you have the sympathetic, which triggers that fight or flight response when there's danger or stress, when the body senses that. And then last but not least, not talked about the most, is the enteric, which basically controls and regulates all the gastrointestinal system, okay? So in careers of high stress, most professionals, if you're a student, professional student in higher education, a first generation, anything in your family, single parent, if you're dealing with grief, you've ever experienced some level of trauma, or if you're just a black person living in America, there's a 1 in 4 chance that you've experienced some level of PTSD, stress, depression, or chronic stress in your life, past, present, or currently. Okay. Now that's not really an actual statistic, but I'm pretty sure I could find something out there that would recommend that would support that. But if you know, you know. So when our nervous system is dysregulated, we're exposed to so much chronic stress, so much trauma that our body is still holding the score. So many things that have forced us and our brains to operate in survival mode. It takes a toll. It takes a really big toll. And that's a dysregulated nervous system. But especially when we're so used to dealing with these things and carrying these things and trying to manage these things in life, we don't always realize it, but it makes a really great impact. And it decreases the quality of life we can live. And who wants to do that? Who wants to do that? Especially when there's something that's actually in your control, something that's actually in your power that you can do about it. And now it's not easy, but yes, it's simple. It just requires practice. So now we're going to go into the breathe. Now we're going to practice something you can use this week, right away. Whenever. But I challenge you to try to start the day and end the day with breath. Okay. So first, we're going to just engage in a 60-second natural breath observation, just to kind of practice, eventually get in the habit of just noticing your breath. Okay. Then we're going to practice alternate nostril breathing, which is basically known to support balancing and calming the mind. It's kind of considered a channel purification, right? That clears the energy pathways that helps us reduce our stress, improve our focus, and just overall calm our nervous system. They recommend that it's best practice sit on an empty stomach for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then lastly, we'll just be briefly introduced into the 3-part breath, which is a really deep breathing technique that fills the lungs, moving from the belly to the rib cage to the upper chest, and then releasing it back down in a wave like flow from the chest to the rib cage to the lower belly as you exhale. And that is really good for just increasing lung capacity in general, but also calming the mind and reducing stress. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and get into our natural breath observation. This is actually a part of our series of the Minute Meditations. There are 30 60-minute meditations that you can do to embrace a mindful moment in less than 60 seconds. That's also on our YouTube, so make sure you are subscribed. That one you do have to sign up for. You will get those delivered to your email address. All right, so we're just going to do this meditation with the natural observation of our breath. Here we go. And we want to start with our small 1-minute meditation. Let's get into it. In this moment, just breathe. Pause whatever you are doing and just breathe. Notice the flow of your natural breath. Feel free to find something to focus on in front of you or close your eyes if that's comfortable. Don't try to force it or change it. What does it feel like? Where do you feel it? Does it make a sound? Do you notice the rise and fall of your belly? Or maybe your shoulders? Take this moment to appreciate the involuntary action we already have, which is just to think and to breathe, because it just automatically happens. Our bodies are really powerful. Our breath is really powerful. It's one of our greatest sources of energy. The breath gives us so much information if we just listen. Now let's bring awareness back to this present space. As always, in peace and love your way, spread the love and share this. All right, as we bring it back. It's observing the natural breath. Just take a moment to just notice how you feel right now in this moment. Maybe any thoughts, any inner dialogue, any inner conversation that might be coming up right now. Just take a moment. If you have your journal, great. Jot it down for a moment. Quick jot, stop and jot. And if not, that's cool. Just take a mental note. Just take a mental note of it. All right. And before we get into the alternate nostril breathing, because we are going to actually practice that one, I'm going to guide you through that. We'll do that one together. I just want to introduce you to the 3-part breathing. I just want to do a quick model and give an overview, but we're not going to practice this one during this session. And for the 3-part breathing, I kind of talked about this a little bit more, but it's a very intentional, deep breathing technique. And at first, again, it could get a little uncomfortable until you get used to it. And you just start by inhaling first the belly. So when you inhale, the first thing that should be moving should be the abdomen or the belly space. It should almost be like you're breathing in the air and you're filling up your belly. So the diaphragm, right, is moving and the belly is expanding, and you don't stop there, right? Because that's what we generally do. It's a shallow breath where we are either just the belly's moving or just the chest is moving. So with this breath, we want to be intentional, making it a full, deep, intentional breath. So on the inhale, it won't be only the belly that is filling up with air. On the inhale, the belly should rise first. And then imagine bringing that air up, filling it in until it reaches about the rib cage. And as you feel the rib cage, you're breathing air, expanding into that. And last but not least, you'll feel the air in the upper chest area, and that would start to rise. That would be the full inhale of the breath. And then on the way back down, you would just do the reverse. So as you are exhaling, you are releasing the air from the upper chest first, then allowing the rib cage to constrict and then deflating the belly again. So always you want to kind of find a comfortable seat and make sure you are grounded. And then the breath would be a little something like this. And that was 2 rounds. I'm not sure how well you guys could really see that, but really being slow and intentional with bringing the air in from the belly on up and then reversing it back out. So really slow, deep, and intentional breathing. So now for the alternate nostril breathing, this is another tricky one, especially until you get used to it, because it may feel a bit awkward. But remember, you're building a practice and you got to trust the process, okay? Um, and this is one you're definitely going to want to add into your routine. So, of course, in a comfortable position, you can also do this one lying down if you wanted to. And it's literally called alternate nostril breathing because that's literally what we are doing. We are only using one nostril kind of at a time. So, it is recommended that you place the middle finger and ring finger down. But you can see this is a little awkward for me, and you're using the thumb and pinky to alternate holding the nostrils down. For me, that's a little weird. So I just put down my middle finger and my ring finger, and I use my thumb and pinky. So you always want to start with the left side, and we're going to make sure that we just exhale everything out first and then we'll start. So I'm going to explain it first and then we'll practice a few rounds together. And so the way it works is you would start with the thumb by placing that on the right nostril and then inhale through the left, closing the left nostril with the pinky, opening the right nostril, breathing out, breathing in the right nostril, close the right nostril, release the left, breathe and exhale out. I'm just repeating that cycle. Okay. And so we're going to do this one together. I'm just going to say inhale, exhale, switch. Maybe I might say switch, but just getting to the rhythm and following your own flow of your natural breath. And again, I use my thumb and pinky. Use whatever is comfortable for you. And again, as always, make sure you ground it down through the sit bones, relaxing the shoulders and clenching the jaw. And then here we go, starting with an exhale before plugging the right nostril. Inhale, close. Exhale. Do one more round. Inhale. Close. Exhale. Inhale. Close. Exhale. Inhale. Close. Exhale. Release and just breathe, always ending with the left nostril. And as we come back to this space, just taking some time to notice how you're feeling. Just take a moment here and just allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm. Every time I do breath work, it's just the calming and peace that it literally comes over my body, even if it's only 30 seconds. So, this is always the time of Mindful Mondays where you probably hear my voice and tone and body language get a little bit lower, but that's just side effect of the Mindful Moments lifestyle. And now we're going to get into our reflect. And so, if you have something to write with, this is the perfect time to make sure you have that. Or even just reflect on today's prompt. And the reflection prompt today is, what have I learned about my breath? Hopefully, you learned something, right? What have you learned about your breath? And thinking about ways that you can use what you learned in your everyday life. Reflection prompt number 2, specifically thinking, how can I practice breath work more in my daily life? And 3, when could I use this in my life? Right? So kind of think about, why is it important? What have you learned? And then how and when can you use this? It's not easy, but it is simple. You just have to practice. And responding to those reflection prompts, of course, I was very intentional in crafting those, but just to really give you ways to really apply it to your life so you can use it. For example, you might say, okay, before bed, I'm going to do alternate nostril because that felt really relaxing. Or you might say, on my commute for 60 seconds, I'm just going to pay attention to and observe my natural breath, right? Setting a time of when you'll be able to apply it to your life can help with you build that practice. And then we're just going to close out with our affirmations today. You can say it silently or out loud. I listen to the natural rhythm of the flow of my breath. I listen to the natural rhythm of the flow of my breath. My breath is my life force, and I pay attention to it. My breath is my life force, and I pay attention to it. I have the power within me to regulate my nervous system, one breath at a time. I have the power within me to regulate my nervous system, one breath at a time. That wraps up tonight's episode of Mindful Mondays. Follow for more Mindful Mondays each week, right here, same time, roughly the same place. Y'all know what I mean. Same place, roughly the same time. And we don't say self-care over here because, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to take care of ourselves. That's a given. We're definitely selfish about that wellness, though. You are whole. You are enough. You matter. If any moments today resonated with you, let me know in the comments and comment breathe down below if anything resonated. And then share this with someone else that could use it, especially if you are a Black professional or educator that's navigating stress, burnout, or high expectations. The space is for you. The space is for us. Make sure you subscribe and follow for more mindful moments and join the family for nervous system support and intentional practices that you can actually use in real life. Come back next Monday, same place, roughly the same time, same intention always. And until then, protect your peace. Peace out.